of this country. Father, you know how Ghanaians are suffering, especially our cocoa farmers. Father, you know that our cocoa farmers have not been paid for the last 3 months. We pray for your divine intervention. Amen. Father, we want you to come down and redeem this country. Father, we commit this press conference into your hands. Guide our thoughts. Guide our thinking. Father, and at the end of the day, we'll give you all the praises. In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, we have prayed. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Dr. Wiley. Our ranking member on agriculture.
Oh Lord, come down now. Send your mighty power, come down now. Oh Lord, come down now. Send your mighty power, come down now. Oh Lord, come down now. No.
Thank you so much for the powerful prayer. Our friends from the media, this program is carried live on GTV, on City TV, TV3, Channel 1, GH1 Metro TV, and other online media. On behalf of the leadership of the able mighty minority and our colleagues, we welcome you to this media engagement, holding power to account, a year of active and responsible minority in Ghana's 9th parliament. Seated here are the able, our deputy minority leader, Honorable Madam Patricia Apiadi. Madam, if you give us a wave. We also have our able second deputy minority chief whip, in the person of Honorable Jerry Ahmed Shaib, a member of Parliament for Wija. On the high table too, we have our ranking member on energy. Our ranking member on energy, Honorable, popularly known as Olua, is here with us. Olua gives us a wave. We also have our ranking member on roads, Honorable Kennedy Osei Nyako. We have other ranking members who are here. We have the ranking member on agriculture. We have the caucus lawyer. We have our caucus lawyer is here. We have the chairman of the backbenchers is also here, and other ranking members of our able minority. And the deputy rankings are all here. Colleagues in the media, without much, like I said, let me have the single honor to introduce the leader of the mighty minority, the leader who has been able to lead an 87 infantry battalion that can defeat a battle of or members of 100, soldiers of 189 in the chamber, as you know. Our mighty minority leader, Osahini Alexandra Afenyo-Markin. So our friends in the media, like I introduced earlier on, this media engagement is holding power to account, a year of active and responsible minority leadership in the 9th Parliament. Without much, I'll just invite our able leader who will lead the discussion and do the briefing. After that, we have interactions with the media. Our able leader. Thank you. before the minority leaders start the speech, we can be seated, but our party general secretary, deputy general secretary, is also here with us. He's in the person of Professor Haruna Mohammed. He's also here with us. So can we be all outstanding? And then we'll try to, sing the anthem of the New Patriotic Party. We are the new Patriotic Party. We are the new Patriotic Party. The elephant is a winning symbol. We shall win to save Ghana. The elephant is a winning symbol. We shall win to save Ghana.
We shall win.
We shall win to save Ghana.
To save Ghana.
We shall win
To
save Ghana.
save Ghana.
The elephant is a winning symbol. We shall win to save Ghana. Eshi rado. Okay. Eshi rado.
One more. Arise,
Ghana, you for your country. The nation demands your devotion. Let us all unite to uphold her and make her great and strong. We are all involved. We are all involved. We are all involved in building a mother's land. We are all involved. We are all involved. We are all involved in building a mother's land.
Thank you very much and God bless you. Please be seated.
That's okay. Yeah, whichever one. Colleagues in leadership, ranking members of the mighty Minority Caucus, deputy ranking members, colleague members of the mighty Minority of 87, our friends from the media, good morning to all of you. And let me, on behalf of the leadership of the caucus, wish you, though belated, a happy new year. And to the media, let me also thank you on behalf of the caucus for all you've done for democracy and for our caucus. We started in 2025, January 7th, with a lot of uncertainty. We must admit that through you, the media, bloggers, traditional media, all of you, you've given the minority a voice, and this we don't take for granted. God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, the moral test of Parliament is not the size of its majority, but the constitutional courage of its minority. In Ghana's 9 parliaments, where the NDC commands a historically large majority and the MPP holds just 87 seats, the MPP minority has often functioned
as the Republic's circuit breaker, insisting that constitutional procedure, oversight, and public accountability prevail over brute numbers. My dear editors, members of the press, we want to say this plainly. Article 162 of the 1992 Constitution does not simply acknowledge your work. It protects your freedom as essential to our democracy. It guarantees that press is free to question power at all times, and democracy forbids censorship or interference that would weaken your duty to inform, scrutinize, and challenge. Without that freedom, used with courage and integrity, every other institutional promise is reduced to words on paper. You are the guardians of the space between our national ideals and their fulfillment. Through your vigilance, you decide whether our democracy remains a living, accountable system or decays into mere performance, impressive in ceremony, but empty behind the curtain of power. Our unlaw elders give us a warning in a proverb. Kokuvi says, he has covered his eyes with his hands and is using his jaw to see. It describes a deliberate silence, a choice to ignore what one clearly sees in order to avoid the consequence that truth might bring. It is that habit of seeing but pretending not to see, of knowing but refusing to speak. This is how constitutional democracies often begin to die. They rarely fall with tanks in the streets or gunfire in the night. Instead, they erode through the slow corrosion of conscience, the gradual acceptance of the gap between what the Republic promises and how it actually behaves. We sense the decay, yet, if there is silence, it will be allowed to spread. I am proud to say that you, the media, remain firm in opening up issues, but like we always say, there's more room for improvement. This gathering is not a party rally. It is a constitutional conversation for the public record. We speak today with an eye to the historians of tomorrow, who will ask whether we found the courage to speak when it mattered, or whether we watched in silence as the distance between our ideals and our nation actions grew too wide to close. I think I need to do. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been told that the economy is doing well. That is not in doubt. But the question is the economy doing well because there is prudent management of our economy, or that whether this government has introduced some social intervention programs that have in itself created an opportunity for young, ambitious Ghanaians? We hereby submit that the so-called gains were not born out of government's competence in the management of our economy. Rather, the IMF program
debt relief, rising commodity exports, reduced expenditure are the major reasons for the upswing in Ghana's economy, not a re-engineering of the economy. Therefore, my respected friend and colleague, Dr. Forson, must know that these facts expose the government's hypocrisy in telling us that they have prudently managed the economy. The much-touted fiscal consolidation has been attained on the back of a sharply cut expenditures for critical sectors, resulting in lower borrowing needs, and currency appreciation solely due to the weakening of the US dollar, which has led to preference for massive global investment in gold. Also, the debt restructure, which we started under MPP while in government, in addition to the commodity export boom in gold and cocoa output, led to the big trade surplus which was recently announced. So since May 2023, Ghana has had a $3 billion from Ghana's IMF program, which in turn has unlocked light debt relief and financing. For example, in mid-2025, Ghana's parliament, $2.8 billion restructuring deal with 25 official creditors, including China, France, the US, UK, and others. Under this agreement, all debt payments due through 2026 were rescheduled, effectively granting Ghana $2.8 billion in debt service relief it could play with in the budget. So once again, Ghana's economic fortune so far is tied to the IMF program and the windfall, not necessarily due to any re-engineering of the economy. Ladies and gentlemen, let me straight away zoom in to raise an issue of NDC's hypocrisy and double standards. In the 8th Parliament, when they were in opposition, they told the whole world that there was a need to pass an anti-LGBT law. Basically, they said that to protect our own culture, our religious beliefs, there's a need to pass a law that will criminalize any acts of lesbianism, gayism, etc. They were loud on the streets of Accra. They went into our villages, engaged the media, engaged religious leaders, engaged traditional rulers. 1 year down the line, they've been in office. They have gone quiet on this anti-LGBT law. We hear His Excellency the President play on words, claiming that the government was doing wider consultation to see how the law could be formulated in a better way. Really? But was it not the same law that they said it was okay to be passed? And again, when the mighty minority members decided through private members' bill to now pin them to their own principles, suddenly, after all the processes have been followed and approval given, and the motion was on the order paper, the NDC, through its majority leader, found a way of using procedure to claim that there was no such approval by the speaker and tried to scapegoat the clerk to parliament. As we speak, they have refused, neglected, and deliberately denied the people of Ghana that anti-LGBT law that they themselves spoke about. To make matters worse, our own curriculum, they have found space to introduce this promotion of sexual rights in the curriculum of our children. When they were exposed, this is what they had to say, that it was a mistake and that an anomaly. What an anomaly? When government documents have been printed, circulated, and signed by no less a person than the sector minister, and through the vigilance of the minority, you get exposed, you now say it was an anomaly. We don't accept this. We hold a view that the NDC used the anti-LGBT law only for power. And now that they are facing the reality, they want to find a way of running away from it. We will insist that they act by their own principle. Ladies and gentlemen, let me also address the issue of gold for reserves. We are not in any way opposed to that policy because the policy was started by us. We, the minority, are again not opposed to the institutionalization of a new vehicle to see to the implementation of that all-important policy. However, we have two major concerns. Concern number one, the establishment of the Gold Board as a regulator and also an operator is in a way directly encouraging galamsey activities. Our water bodies are being polluted. In fact, organized labor last year sounded the alarm and indicated that the galamsey activities have worsened. This government has failed to provide tangible evidence of its commitment in the fight against galamsey. It is clear that they are always involved in a PR gimmick, looking at the optics rather than the substance. They are interested in short-term gains. And today, we don't know whether the Gold Board makes a distinction between regularly mined gold or an illicit gold. All we know is that they are talking about their success story, the amount of gold or the tons of gold they have purchased. Yet, they fail to tell us whether or not there are measures to fight against illicit gold that are mined through galamsey activities. We are concerned because the future of this country is at stake. And the earlier this government took steps to protect the future of Ghana, the better. Second, we are also concerned about the IMF reported $240 million US as of September 2025. There seemed to be some confusion between the Gold Board and the central bank. But we want to tell the central bank, participating in the activities, being part of the feast, and when there are issues, you run away and you want to put the blame squarely at the feet of Gold Board will not wash. The IMF says that the losses came by as a result of Bank of Ghana failing to protect our funds. How can you give money to Gold Board to buy gold and they make losses because of exchange rate differences? How can you be paying fees that by law you are not entitled to pay? How can there ever be a justification that in rolling out a policy there is an economic cost? Let me remind the central bank that His Lordship, Justice Afre of blessed memory, in the Salome case, laid down the ground rules, especially the true definition of causing financial loss. The central bank must not forget this. What is happening amount to a financial loss to the state. We are also aware that respected and senior legal experts within government seem to have warned on this. It is filtered through to us. Therefore, we urge the central bank to immediately take steps to address this. Though we've become aware that there was a joint board meeting between central bank and the Gold Board as a result of the concerns raised by the minority, of which there was a conclusion that artisanal mining model should now go for 9.75 for bullion and 9.55 for unprocessed gold, which is a reduction from the previous 15%. Much as this is commendable, we still think that there are still losses that would have to be considered. We are also aware that Central Bank is saying that it wants to give some moratorium of 1 month to allow for further deliberations amongst the various parties, the Ministry of Finance, Gold Board, and government, on a sustainable cost-sharing structure for the program. So indeed, if the minority was merely blowing hot air, why have they now decided through joint board meeting to take steps to ensure a sustainable cost structure? We are concerned about these losses. We believe that if indeed we are going to have a goal for oil reserves, the government must take steps to sustain it by ensuring that there is real profits. The approach they have adopted will not help the country. We need money to build roads, to construct hospitals, to build schools, to create jobs. And if the central bank is going to underwrite some of these artificial losses and turn around to tell us that it's an economic cost, we regret to say that the minority will not accept this. We are open to discussions on this matter, and just as we always do, we'll put forward our views. We also want to say that we filed a motion in Parliament. We have become aware that the Speaker has admitted the motion, which would allow for broader engagement and consultation on this matter. We urge the various stakeholders in this goal for oil reserve to open up to hear our views so that together we can move this country forward. Ladies and gentlemen, I will proceed to state that at a recent World Economic Forum in Davos, the Canadian Prime Minister delivered a message to the global elite that they did not want to hear. He warned that the old order is not coming back. He described a new world in which major powers use tariffs, supply chains, and financial systems as open tools of pressure and control. He urged that what we call, quote, rules-based international order, unquote, has for many become an exercise in living within a lie, unquote. A system countries feel obliged to join, while privately knowing it no longer works as advertised. For a smaller economy like Ghana, this is not an abstract debate. It is a direct challenge. It means we cannot rely on comfortable stories of mutual benefit when the structures of global integration are being used as instruments of leverage. This new world demands 3 clear responses from Ghana. First, we must build a truly strong and resilient domestic economy. We need enough strategic autonomy that no outside power can bend us through debt traps, currency games, or control over one key export. Economic sovereignty cannot remain a slogan. It must become the solid foundation of an independent foreign policy. Second, we must deliberately diversify our international relationship. We must deepen ties across Africa and engage carefully with traditional partners in the United States, European Union, UK, China, Canada, and with emerging powers, without surrendering our sovereignty to any single dominant player. Third, and most important, we must root our foreign policy in the constitutional values we live by at home. A so-called pragmatic foreign policy that turns a blind eye to impunity, corruption, and injustice inside our borders is not realism. It is a performance of sovereignty that hides a quiet acceptance of dependence. We cannot project moral clarity abroad if we refuse to practice it at home. Take Ghana's ambition to mediate between ECOWAS and the Alliance of Sahel states. It is a worthy and necessary goal, and it reflects the traditional leadership role Ghana often claims. But moral authority is never something a country can simply declare. It is earned gradually through steady action at home. It rests on the integrity of a nation's own institutions. A government that tolerates opaque, loss-making schemes orchestrated by the central bank, that turns prosecution into political weapon, that attacks judicial independence by unconstitutionally removing a chief justice, and that allows ongoing destruction of our rivers, is steadily destroying the very credibility it wishes to display abroad. Real sovereignty in diplomacy is built on domestic accountability. A nation earns the right to be a principled foreign policy by making its own society more resilient, transparent, and just, so that it is less vulnerable to pressure and less easily silenced. Before Ghana can credibly reconcile other nations, it must first bring its own practice into line with its proclaimed values. Our influence abroad will always be limited by the strength of our integrity at home. And by the way, we have seen that my Lord Bafuboni and his management are all over at the various ministries, including Jubilee. Is he on a thank you tour? Is my Lord Bafuboni on a thank you tour, thanking the government for appointing him as a Chief Justice? And we hear today he is coming to Parliament. We, the minority, don't see him as a tolerant head of the judiciary, because members of the minority came under attack when we criticized the processes leading to his nomination. We will therefore not be part of his thank you tour. If he wants to engage us, our offices are open. He should come and engage us, and we'll let him know things that we find wrong. Colleagues, members of the media, let me emphasize that the macroeconomic figures from last year, although real on the surface, encouraging as well, we are aware that inflation has dropped from a peak in the 20s to single digits. We are aware that government is now touting it as its own successes. But instead of welcoming, we must ask, stability for whom and at what long-term costs? Think of economic policy as a bridge connecting the state to its citizens. On one side of that bridge are the conference rooms in Accra, where ministers display tidy charts and quote IMF reports. On the other side are the markets of Ifutu, the busy streets of Tamale, and the households of Takwa, where Ghanaians experience the economy not as statistics, but as struggles with food prices, utility bills, and the search for decent work. In 2025, that bridge broke. Inflation fell on paper, but the cost of a simple meal remained beyond reach for many families. Growth accelerated in the aggregate, but around 1.25 million young people were left outside employment, education, or training. A generation waiting on the margins. Macroeconomic stability improved, yet an estimated majority of water bodies are polluted and energy sector debt still sits in the billions of dollars. This gap has a clear cause. The current stabilization rests heavily on the tight IMF conditions, new levies imposed on already burdened citizens, and continued dependence on the same narrow export of gold and cocoa. Now, instead of introducing reforms in the energy sector, they decided to impose levies. Remember that they said e-levy was bad and they were going to scrap it. They were going to outlaw it. And Ghanaians celebrated them when they repealed the e-levy. But let's look at some numbers. They took away e-levy, but utility tariffs alone, so far, we have seen an excess of 27%. Electricity tariffs under Akufo-Addo, where we were paying e-levy at 1.5%. And they were telling us, the NDC told us that it is too much. Today, electricity tariffs have gone up in excess of 27%. That is NDC hypocrisy for you. They also came to Parliament in the dead of night to introduce the Dumsor levy, which upon our scrutiny, they decided to suspend it. But again, in the dead of night, they started the implementation. So Ghanaians are being burdened with all these levies, yet they claim that they are a caring government. Let me repeat that the current stabilization rests heavily on the tight IMF conditions. And like I said, they've imposed new levies. Deep structural weakness from inefficiencies in the energy sector to bottlenecks in agriculture remain largely untouched. This is not transformation. It is a postponement of crisis wrapped in a polished statement. So for agriculture, let me ask our respected colleague, Eric Opoku. He is a very intelligent parliamentarian. I don't doubt his understanding of the agro sector. But talk is cheap. It is not about his talking. Today I want to ask my respected colleague, Honorable Eric Opoku, the minister responsible for agriculture, to hold a press conference and tell Ghanaians the real policies that have been introduced to help promote agriculture. There is none. In the fishery sector, the least said about them, the better. So really, this government talks so much in opposition, but in government, there is nothing they've done. In the show later, Dr. I.Y. Opoku would expatiate on this with the numbers for you. Now they promised 24-hour economy. And the 24-hour economy, they said, one job, 3 shifts. So each job will carry 3 people. And they said, oh, even if you want to do farming, there will be a system where you can farm at night. They said, oh, you can sell your wachi in the night. That's what they told us. But today, after voting for them, what do we see? Even Ghanaian youth who gained employment as far back as 2017 were all sacked. When the minority introduced a motion to question the chief of staff's letter directing the argument, and when we filed the motion for review of this repugnant ruling, Mr. Speaker found a way of denying us a voice. It is taking 8 months, an important matter that affects the livelihood of Ghanaians. And I want Ghanaian youth to hear this. Matters that would involve the restoration of their jobs. Parliament refused to give the minority a voice. They use procedure. Each time we raise it, they told us, oh, the speaker says he wants to preside himself. the Speaker will preside himself. Till date, we've not been able to conclude on the debate on that motion. And Parliament is going to reconvene again on the 3rd of February 2026. We want to assure the many youth who have been rendered unemployed as a result of that letter that we will not relent. We will fight for them until they gain their employment back. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, we submit further that this government has failed the Ghanaian people in the most basic duty of a modern state, to move its citizens safely and decently from one part of their own country to another. In 2026, at major terminals from Circle to Kaneshi and Medina, hundreds of Ghanaians are stranded for hours because the national fleet has collapsed from over 1,000 public buses to barely more than 100 in operation. While more than 400 Metro Mass buses rot in garages or have even been sold off as scrap, commuters are headed into overcrowded trotros or priced out by artificial scarcity, not because Ghana lacks engineers or planners, but because this administration cannot even maintain a functional public transport system and has reduced policy to press conferences while people sleep in queues. This same culture of negligence has bled into our foreign policy, where careless performative diplomacy has now helped land Ghana on a shameful list of countries whose citizens can no longer obtain immigrant visas to the United States. The US government has announced an indefinite pause on immigrant visa processing for 75 countries, including Ghana, cutting off a critical legal pathway for family reunion and skilled migration at precisely the moment our economy depends heavily on remittances from hard-working Ghanaians abroad. The United States is our single largest remittance corridor, sending between $1.5 to $2.5 billion a year into Ghanaian households. Yet through a mixture of short-sighted posture and weak consular statecraft, this government has allowed our citizens to be lumped into a penalty list that will slowly suffocate a lifeline and diminish Ghana's contribution to solving global problems. A serious government will treat our transportation system and immigrant visas as instruments of national survival, not as afterthoughts. This one has managed to trap its own people twice, stranded at home in endless, dehumanizing transport queues, and stranded behind a new wall of visa restrictions. Its diplomacy was too clumsy, too reactive, and too self-satisfied to prevent. The minority, therefore, is calling for immediate, concrete action in the transport sector, for an emergency program to restore the state bus fleet and saturate the worst-hit corridors with reliable services so that no Ghanaian is left stranded for hours simply trying to get to work or back home. On the diplomatic front, the minority has demanded the dismissal of the foreign minister and ambassador to the United States and urged the president to deploy a high-level special envoy to Washington and constitute a crisis task force to secure Ghana's prompt removal from the U.S. immigrant visa-free list and protect the billions in remittance on which millions of Ghanaian households depend. Ladies and gentlemen, public trust is further undermined by a visible pattern of selective justice. Former MPP officials have been pursued with vigor, while figures associated with the NDC facing similar questions have not attracted the same urgency. At the same time, serious concerns around financial transparency at the highest level of our monetary system have gone largely unaddressed. When the law is enforced according to political power, color, rather than evidence, we are no longer dealing with the rule of law. We are watching a performance of the rule of law, a scripted play in which the audience knows the ending before the curtain rises, but the show continues to preserve appearances. The MPP minority has resisted rushed and opaque lawmaking, including attempt to force through certain held financing measures without required parliamentary quorum. We have repeatedly insisted on transparency. These actions are not partisan games. They are necessary steps to narrow the dangerous gap between what our constitution says and how power is actually exercised. The new patriotic party, the mighty minority, has learned its lessons from defeat. We concede that we couldn't have been perfect in government. We know that there were some mistakes that were made. We take collective responsibility. Our responsibility now is deeper, and we assure Ghanaians that we in Parliament will continue to lead the charge even as we finish our flag bearership race on 31st of January 2026. Our main task thereafter would be to win back the trust and mandate of the Ghanaian people by rallying behind our elected new leader, work hand in hand with him to go through his vision and ensure that we put forward a responsible opposition and provide alternatives. We've done it before. When the NPP was in opposition in the 90s and we finally had power in the 2000s, the people of Ghana know what the Kufuor administration did. We introduced the health insurance policy, a policy that the NDC never dreamed of, a policy that the NDC doubted, a policy that the NDC in Parliament boycotted its passage. Yet today, that is what has saved millions of Ghanaians. Again, when we were in opposition between 2009 and 2016, and we promised free SHS, the NDC told us we could not implement. The people of Ghana are aware that when the grace of God gave us opportunity to govern, we saw the implementation of the free SHS. However imperfect it was, the policy was implemented. Many Ghanaian youth who ordinarily could not have had an opportunity to have secondary education had the opportunity of being educated. What is left after this government had taken office is to take it to a higher level, use the opportunity created to build human resource capacity to create jobs. They've shut down the 1D, 1F policy. In its place, no alternative. So Ghanaian businesses are left in a state of uncertainty. There is no incentive for the private sector. So we ask, what is the trade minister doing? What is the trade minister doing? We can in the least describe her as a redundant minister with no policy to promote economic growth. Now let us turn to the lithium. We want to deal with the lithium agreement. When the NDC was in opposition, they questioned the lithium agreement that was before Parliament. But upon assuming office, the agreement was reintroduced in a very worse state. When the minority exerted pressure on the minister and government, they came through the back door to now withdraw the paper, the agreement, claiming that they are now going through further consultation. The question is, at the time Honorable Ama Kofi-Boa was defending this new agreement on the House floor, didn't he know that he needed to do further consultation? At the time that he challenged the sincerity of the minority, up until civil society joined the call, was he being fair to the people of Ghana? Was he being transparent? We reiterate again the call on the Minister of Land and Natural Resources to resign because he failed the people of Ghana. The minority interrogated the reduction in royalties from 10 to 5%. We carried the questions further regarding the lapses in the transparency of the whole agreement. He defended it, and now he came back to withdraw it. That alone amounts to a serious mischief. That alone is a policy failure that the minister cannot get away with. Ladies and gentlemen, let me now turn attention to a disturbing matter on the House floor, which we promise the people of Ghana that when Parliament commences, reconvenes on the 3rd of February, we are no more going to allow the majority to have it way. The majority has turned Parliament into a Parliament of fast track and no scrutiny. A rubber stamp Parliament where everything comes under certificate of urgency. They should be ready to beat us in the chamber. We will resist with all the energy in us. No more certificate of urgency. They had their way in the passage of the Gold Board law, the Energy Sector Recovery Levy, the Doomsor Levy. They also introduced a certificate of urgency and many more other laws that they pass it through certificate of urgency without any scrutiny. We hereby sound a caution to the NDC majority. If they are not ready to read, we are ready to read. We all became aware that their 189 only exists in numbers. When it comes to substance, they can't match the length of the trousers of the minority. They only talk numbers. But we all know that even in the passage of laws, when it comes to quality debate, we do proper research and we argue on facts supported with data. What they come into the chamber to do is their propaganda. But come 2026, this 2026, they will never have their way. We will hold their feet to the fire and ensure that each minister account for his stewardship. We know that 2026 budget is a chop-chop budget. We know that 2026 budget is a chop-chop budget. We are going to open our eye and scrutinize every contract, every document that goes to PPA. The minority will follow it and bring motions. And we hereby also plead with Mr. Speaker that he is doing Ghana's work and is doing the work for the growth of democracy. We are aware Mr. Speaker is an NDC leading member. But where he sits, he is to protect both of us. We have been frustrated by numerous dismissal of our motions. Questions are delayed. Questions are declined. Issues that must be allowed to be debated on the House floor, we see subtle culture of silence being introduced and procedural roadblocks are used to deny us opportunity. But we want to pray, Mr. Speaker, most humbly, that he should prioritize substance over form. That is the rule of equity. He should prioritize prudence over procedure and allow debate to flow. We will not sit idly by and allow the majority to use their numbers to deny us our duty in ensuring that there is proper oversight. Ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude by promising that we will not renege on our fundamental duties to the Constitution. We will fight for the people of Ghana. And in doing so, we will not be obstructive. We will scrutinize, hold government to account, ensure that just as we did in 2025, where we brought up issues to the limelight, we're going to repeat same. And this time around, we are going to do so even as we are done with all our internal elections, that we now have a leader, and we are going to do so with a firm determination and assurance that come 2028, the NPP deserves to come back into office. This presser may not be done and done well without at least talking about this third term agenda. We are aware that Mr. President himself says he's not interested in third term agenda. But we take this opportunity to also mention to Mr. President that, Mr. President, we are aware that many of your party members want to put the agenda. Please tell them one more time. Maybe when you said so in Singapore, they didn't hear you. Mr. President, you haven't spoken about your non-interest in third term in Ghana. Please tell your people that you are not interested at all. They shouldn't lead you into temptation. And by the way, it is not possible. Also, we have heard that certain people have filed certain processes at the court. We also have this to tell my Lord Bafuboni. We know that this job was handed to you on a silver platter. We know that you have your masters to please. But my Lord Bafuboni, in the end, when history is being written, it will be your name. And to our judges at the Supreme Court, Ghanaians are watching how you determine the matters that are coming before you. Who question your own integrity. When you came for vetting, you made certain commitment to the people of Ghana. Ghanaians heard you. So again, the mighty minority is watching you. We will not be silenced by threat of contempt. If by criticizing the judiciary, they will march us into Nsawam, we are ready to become prisoners of conscience. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Arise, Ghana youth, for your country. The nation demands your devotion. Let us all unite to uphold and make and great and strong. We are all involved. We are all involved. We are all involved in building our motherland. We are all involved. We are all involved. We are all involved in building our motherland. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please resume yourself.
Thank you. I can't say thank you enough for the wonderful submission by the leader of the mighty minority, the leader of the 87 Infantry Battalion, who will now open up the conversation to our friends from the media. If there is any question, we are ready to take. My colleague, Honorable Jerry Ahmed Shaif, will be during the justice. If you have any concern, you raise up your hand. Here he is going to play the role of a speaker. If you catch his eye, if you catch the eye of the member of parliament for Wager, then we'll be able to do justice to that. So now the floor is open for our friends from the media. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Kweku Seshidanso from GhanaInfis.com. I just want to find out from the minority if there are plans after your internal context to bring colleagues together, because we see what is going on, since you want to stand firm and hold government accountable. Thank you.
Next person.
Please, you announce your media.
Leader, thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Josam Ghana Page, and host of the constituency. Leader, you mentioned that Ghanaians agree with the party of debate advanced on the floor of parliament by the minority. Emphatically, you called for the dismissal of the foreign affairs minister. Are there other ministers you want to see, or is it just a dislike? Is it just a dislike for the foreign affairs minister? And is it not a situation where the job at hand is bigger than the labours of the field? That's the number of ministers John Dramani Mahama has appointed and discussed it. You also mentioned that the majority has 189. Have you already considered Ayawaso East to the majority?
Yes, any other please? Okay.
No, three. No, that's second. That's a third.
Okay, graphic. No, Joy, then I come to graphic.
My name is James Abeji with Joy News. On the transport crisis in Accra and the other cities, the minority leader talks about the state of the state transport system and how government is not adding up to the numbers. In our recent interview with the Metro Mass Transit Board, he talks about the fact that some of these buses that have been disposed were done under the previous government. Minority leader, I want to ask if you can give us some details about some of these decisions to dispose of some of these buses. I also know that you initiated an electric bus project before you left government to purchase about 100 buses. 10 have been brought. The status of that, is it supposed to be continued by the recent government, and if you have any updates on adding up to the numbers? Plus, if there is any solution you can prefer to government on this, thank you.
The minority leader will respond to these three questions before we take the next batch.
So let me deal with the first issue of post 31st January in Parliament. As you may be well aware, we've had a very civil engagement from Parliament. We, the 87, those colleagues who have been engaged in this discourse have done so with all civility. I want to assure you that these are internal matters. As for politics, things get heated. Soon after, we all rally behind the leader and the MPP flag to push the party agenda and to let Ghanaians know what we have for them. But you see, the NDC is busy talking about us. What they've also forgotten is that they also have a leadership contest awaiting them. And do also obi fieshe. Omo de npo de kankan kra. Sesi a obe hu no ase edun katia ose oko thank you to. Meanwhile no campaign. They are hu ni say Aisa aban e won your own preferred candidate. Jubilee House for so mo candidates. Obedi flag bearer mom na party no so one candidate Inti enche bi ebedu omo so. But the ayepese can say MPP die. Nyame ya adom a after 31st yan ye wo parliament. Ya real tasu se kwen bia so no ye de baako ye enka bom ebetai ne obewini n'echi. Na ye nyina ya boa e ma party na akone kan. Inti no NDC for mundwe omo no mudi omo fi ase. Ya nhwe kra na ebia by mid this year Omampei Mahama eba be lim that president because obia pay to me wo show omumu a vice president or so onu subedi president and then I'm saying yet say onu afa haruna idrusa ya no running mate yet ya ne say chief of staff Julius Debra onu so nam ne kwan onu so be president edi onu so o say ne running mate any fifi kwete yet a majority leader ono so onam ne baby onini ablakwa omoso yo mo permutation yenua finance minister ono so omose obedi president ono so prepare no running mate inti ade no atasa wo bebia yenua erikopoku ono agric minister one kasa wo ministry okra no sika ezezo omodi mawo na wodi ye kwadwuma kromo fama wo so be di president ono openi erekopoku ehu the difference between opposition and government or opposition na ni kati brofo akase and obedi minister sika odi be ye adwuma krampo no aya asema ma no ono so so obedi president NDC for there no ebe huhu into omundi omufi asem na omunja ye de man back to quality of debate. Yes, I mean ladies and gentlemen of the press, I don't think that there is any debate on this matter. Check the records. We have become formidable opposition because each one of us, in fact, if you look at the first timers on our side, it's so reassuring that MPP indeed has a future. I told somebody that in future, it may be very difficult to make some selections because all of them are competent. All of them are determined. All of them have what it takes to deliver. So as for that one, it comes without question. Now, on the issue of the foreign minister, my colleague, we in the minority, we don't attack personalities. Follow the consistency in my public discourse and that of my colleagues. We don't do personality attack, no. From the vetting to the House floor to all engagement, we raise issues. How can our foreign minister have an engagement with some ambassadors, write on social media, and the next day we hear of an embargo? How can you claim that Israel deported some Ghanaians and without engaging, you also go ahead to say retaliation? You know, when we were kids, right? There were times that when somebody is provoking you, then you say that, udim se unya penny wo hunti, and yes, so you are careful. If our foreign minister was that measured, you would have known that attacking Israel had consequences. I'll leave it here. A word to a wise is enough. So we don't have anything personal against anybody. In serious democracies, when a policy fails, the minister resigns. How can the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources come to Parliament and to defend an agreement, only to do U-turn to withdraw it for further consultation? Any serious democracy, you have to resign. So that call on him to resign is not born out of our dislike for him. Our call on Honorable Ablakwa to resign It's not born out of any dislike or any ill will. There's a clear foreign policy failure. He's not walked the path of his predecessors, who took foreign policy to higher levels. Even recently in ECOWAS, Ghana has lost out on a lot of vacancies that arose at ECOWAS, all because we thought we were eyeing an AU chair for His Excellency the President next year. What of if the countries we are relying on resolve? Ghana is a regular contributor. In fact, we don't fail in our contributions to ECOWAS. Go for the records. We've lost out in employment in ECOWAS. Institutional heads, 0. Main employment, technical staff, the ECOWAS civil servant. Ghana contributes so much, but we are losing out. So what does the foreign minister do? On the Metro Mass issue, we are going to call on the Minister of Transport when Parliament resumes to answer questions regarding why they sat down for a whole year without clear vision for the transport sector.
Set of questions. Okay.
Our colleague, the sector head, is here and he would want to expatiate a bit on this.
Yeah, before you pass, this is the chairman of the trust.
Is your question related to the same? And you won't ask any further questions?
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, in a recent report we read during your administration.
Did he accuse them or that's the reality?
He blamed this government.
Yes, but is that a reality or is an accusation?
So
it's a reality.
The question they cannot answer. But we all know that the problems that we are facing today in terms of Ghanaians having easy access to public transportation has existed over the years during your 8-year administration. I in Accra take public transport and I always go through tough time as sector getting access to public transport and the unbearable first transport operators are charged. But we know that during your administration there is a report that about 330 to 400 Metro Mass buses that were auctioned. So as cheap, as low as 2,500 some of your credits. We want to deny this report because if you fail to deny it, then we can also attribute the current challenge to some of your administration
Graphic, please, can you reframe your question? Why is one an accusation and one a report? You are saying that there is a report that was an auction.
The accusation is that.
And then you said the other one is an accusation. So is that one too not an accusation? That's your last sentence.
No, there's 2 issues here. The accusation is that 1, the minority leader is blaming this government of failing to institute a functional state transport. As a government, which just as a party which just exited power in 2024, we all saw that the very issue that you are accusing this government of were prevailing under your administration.
Okay, it's okay. Let him respond.
I think thank you very much. I think your question is clear. So let me respond to the earlier one with regard to the auction of Metro Mass buses. A lot of people don't know what goes into the processes before any bus is auctioned. Let me take my time to educate. Yes. No, in auctioning of the buses that you are talking about, before any bus is being auctioned, it was sold at a peanut. No movable buses were sold to any cronies. It is a palpable lies which being thrown out because of the recent event that is happening under this government. They are trying to just equalize, make an equalization. So I just want to let you know that it is palpable lies. If they want any full inquiry into the matter, like the leader said. Once we resume, the minority is going to call for that. And we'll have a public inquiry for Ghanaians to know the truth behind. Let us face the fact. There are challenges. Ghanaians are suffering to have, commercial transportation to their works and to travel around, and that is the most difficult thing, the problem that we have at hand. And I expect every Ghanaian to be concerned about it, to find a solution to it. We on the minority side will continue to assist the government with whatever ideas that we need to. So that is what I want to say. On the electric buses, yes, the previous government ordered 100 buses. The idea was that we want to bring 10 to try it, because that was the first time that we were adding EV buses to our fleet. So the idea was that after the 10, we'll bring back the 90. But we lost power. We were expecting this administration, this new government, to bring in the 90 buses, which already all arrangement had been done. They have decided not to bring the buses. It is up to Ghanaians to put fire on their feet and ask them why they have not brought those buses. So please, these are the facts on the ground, and I know most Ghanaians knows about it. So let us be factual about some of these matters, so that we don't, in an attempt to make any equalization, we try to put out some falsehood, which at the end of the day, we will not be able to authenticate it. So that is what I want to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll take the new set of questions. The next set of questions.
Good morning. My name is Maurice Amfa from Nanamo Bloggers. My question is that what steps is the minority taking to address the many hospitals and other key parts initiated by the former government that has now been stopped?
Honorable Jerry, he's gone. Yes, next.
Thank you. My name is Adam. I work for Ghana News. Minority leader, as you said in your presentation, that the minority will resist any bill that will come under certificate of urgency. And I was wondering, because when the pandemic issue came up, even though the minority protested vehemently and even took the center stage of the chamber, but the majority was able to pass 8 estimates at that time. In spite of the chaos, in the midst of the chaos, they continued because they have the knowledge. So, how serious can we take this issue? Because you could not even sustain the protest. It is only that day that you protested. The next day, you cooperated with them. How do you take this serious? Thank you.
This question, even before the minority leader came, I don't know how you are talking about resistance and then the protests on that time. We are talking about 2026, and you are talking about 2025. You are 1 year behind. So please, let's make progress.
Sorry. GTV.
Very much. My name is Valencia from GBC. I think my question is in line with what my senior colleague was talking about. So in his presentation, he made mention that the minority will not allow the majority to have its way this time. So we want to find out what way or what are some of the moves are going to do. Are you going to be working out the team like what we saw in the previous setting, or what moves are you going to do if the majority continued government regardless of your objection.
My sister, if you listen to my sister, Honorable Jerry, if you listen to the minority leader very well, he said unless they beat us. So the walkout is not an option here. And you know, that's the leader. We are the whips. So come out with a strategy. But the last sitting, the certificate of agency were too many. And after that, you now see that they are coming back for amendment of the bills that they have just passed into laws because they rush it. They now realize that there are problems. They are coming with amendment. Even Gold Bond, they will come with an amendment. Wait and see, because there are serious problems there. So that is why he is saying that we are ready to read. If they are not ready to read, we are ready to read and scrutinize every document. So rushing it, there are a lot of strategy as to how we can take it, and we understand it better than them.
But Chief, I'm wondering who discusses this sort of strategy. We should come and tell you our strategy. I don't get it.
Thank you. My name is Christian. With the insight in my today I'm concerned about the losses you mentioned regarding the gold provisions. Our Bank of Ghana records indicate that during your tenure, especially between 2022 2024, there were significant losses under the gold provisions. The Bank of Ghana admits to the losses and is looking forward to solutions. It is called for an all-stakeholder engagement to find the way forward. Are you ready to sit at the table with Gold Board, Bank of Ghana in finding a solution to the challenges in the sector? Thank you.
You want to take the question?
The Bank of Ghana one.
Okay. So, Person said you want to know about the losses. You see, it would always be convenient for someone to engage in, blame game and say that, oh, something happened yesterday, so why must you question me if same thing is happening today? Granted, without admitting that indeed there were some losses in the previous years, didn't they come to say that they are resetting Ghana? And aren't they supposed to do things better than they came to meet it? So the fact that there were some mistakes, just for the sake of argument, means that I cannot question you if you're doing something wrong. I mean, I don't get the logic in there. But be that as it may, we have filed a motion, and that motion has been admitted. Hopefully, we'll have an opportunity to do the scrutiny, and the governor would have to explain the actions of the central bank. Although, like I said, we have also become aware that they had a joint board meeting where the charges that were already originally or previously around 15% have all been brought down. 9.7, let me get the correct figures. I don't want to. When we're dealing with numbers, we have to deal with numbers properly. So I don't want to. No, it's only one. It's on the side. Yes, it's here. We have 9.75 for the bullion and 9.55 for unprocessed gold. Previously, it was 15%. So you see, the minority scrutiny has yielded some gains. If the government thought all was well, they wouldn't have met to review this. Okay? So it tells you that there was something going wrong somewhere. We are saying that in gold trading, there should be no losses. That excuse that there is always an economic cost isn't that here nor there. Say that to little children. If the economic cost of implementing a policy will be that astronomical, then you better look for another policy alternative. If in implementing a policy, you want to stabilize your city, the cost will be so high that it will deny you the opportunity to build schools, construct roads, build hospitals. Then you better look for another alternative. And that alternative readily comes to mind. Invest in agriculture and make more money. If you invest in agriculture, your city will be more stable than going into gold for reserves, spending so much to stabilize your city, and then denying yourself the needed revenue. That's all the point we make it.
Thank you, our able man. So we'll take the last batch of questions. I think you've had your bite already. Oh, okay.
Please, let the question be straightforward. I'm advising. Else I'll take the mic.
I don't know why the KBR team close to me. Leader, the last time there was a voting on the floor when the first deputy speaker quoted or mentioned the case between Justice Abdullahi versus the Republic, where the Supreme Court gave judgment that presiding deputy speakers could vote. And that day, I told leader, your numbers were really in minute. So when I was sitting, I thought there was some sort of conflict between yourself and your police. That probably because NDC were able to marshal about 155 of their members. And we, sorry, I don't say women. And you were, sorry, and the minority were only 25 in the house, but NDC were 155. So I was thinking that at that moment, Mr. Minority Leader, I was thinking that at that moment, I thought you should allow the voting when the speaker put in the vote, the question. But you insisted that, you insisted that there should be a voting. And I saw some sort of nakedness on the part of minority because NDC were able. The question was, how united was the MPP front when it came to that particular issue, thinking that since you don't have since the MPP didn't have the numbers, so you shall allow, the voting, and you call for a voting. Oh please, head count, and the head count exposed the minority. That at that moment, the chief will put in the shout the numbers.
Thank you. Next.
I told you, I was still very disappointed. Any other question, please? Please make sure you ask your questions.
There is somebody.
Let's have some breakings here and straight to the point, please.
Yeah, my name is Kosi Kusi, editor of Point Africa. Leader, I think last year, when the government was able to reduce the dollar from its rate downwards, there was an issue that from the minority that because the government was not spending more, the government was not paying contractors. That's the reason why the dollar. So now that the government has been able to sustain that, are you going to give the government credit for that?
Please, final question, Abi. Let's take the final one. Please, station icon.
Some of these questions, please, let's be guided that there is a press conference, the minority leader did a presentation. So let's stick to what is in the text.
Good afternoon. My name is Bright Wachi Alo from Asifua Radio.
Hey.
Original. I want to know the minorities take on.
Is your station affiliated with CNN and BBC?
I want to know the minorities take on the current happening at Cocoa Board. It seems all our attention has been driven to Gold Board. So I want to know the minorities take on what's happening at Cocoa Board.
Very, very good question.
Okay, minority leader.
So, honorable members, lend me your ears. So we had a question from Ahmed on the numbers. You know, what we would do in Parliament, we do it for history. And in the politics in the chamber, it's not always about winning. It's about the statement you make. So yes, you may be right. Anybody watching from afar will ask, the minority, you are just few. These guys have overwhelming numbers. Why don't you let it go? It's the statement you want to make that matters. We doubted the 155. In fact, the whips checked. They were 129. They were struggling. And you realize that it is only when we begin to hold their feet to the fire that they start to marshal their numbers in. It's a fact. So it is not about us. It's about the impact we make on government business. So it's a strategy matter, which I want you to get it right. And it also goes into answer what we said and what we did. The other issue regarding the cocoa sector, I think our ranking member is here. So I will let, he will take it up.
The stable, the dollar.
Yes, my good friend, Mr. Kumsin, right? Ejo Kumsin. May the press conference earlier no medikai ka say yenu anom no mo ba ban mu no omo hyedan ye bibi sonko bi a Ghana fonya be hu say we a omo aye ededwuma ba enu nti no sidi no so ho atom no kura wo mini say omo promote galamsey sisi a omo se obia into gold sa nine modie omo ye eniso ade just for the optics ba yen nim say omo bie mu amankola ne say omo to gold and gold no omo to no omo to ni bia and so it is not today but tomorrow because omo ton more gold into no omo to me enya dollar ne mane ba na I say a massive no stabilize it but me no yenim from 2025 budget ni 2026 budget say kwedwuma agriculture fisheries really there is no seriousness in addressing that one. Then again yakebibi say 2025 finance minister when tier contractors breaker in fact aban crampo and investing in the private sector and now say even public sector deliverables O question will be saying say oh, but sisi ano ade no mo sustain. O mo sustain because omuntuaka. They are interested in the numbers. So IMF ba almost you stabilize the economy. And your numbers in yebedu. Sa dan omo ba almost you ometua energy sector e ka na ho no. Dia omo kan kyerɛ ne say whereas akufo ado aban ebo no modin tua no omo de levy aba say goodwill no omo wo no omo take advantage. Electricity tariffs from time NDC buy almost over 27%. Omudi kan here 14%. No omudi 2 bi kan ho. Na fe PURC is omo year consultation. Na omo ahwe na ye call minority me na me lead caucus. Ye call na ye catch omo say look, ade amo ye strategy. Amo pese modi increase tariffs. No cre ebemu ECG wo mo se o containers bi ayra na MPP for ne ade na omo aye se o edu bebi ko mo di twi mi etre no minister ye ranking wa ha omo ko hia no omo se o containers na enra ye omo ehu ni nyina omo emo no asem mo now ye catch omo say through the paper ye dey come omo ye catch omo say you started loss reduction program bi ewo ECG say losses no transmission losses ne technical losses no eno kan ho na eka no da ho ena nkrofo bebre so twe electricity omuntua bill companies omutwe illegal connection edoso nti yama a system bi embra ebema Ghana obi abetu electricity bill so we ya ne sa ebeboa akufo adaban start here because the board chair be say busumi mienu no at least me hu anamo ano omutu instead of pursuing reforms instead of imposing higher tariffs pursue reforms. They are not doing it. It's a major policy failure. So they are burdening you, pay more tariffs. So after 1 year no mas baby a budget tariff. Then the worst part of it is that omo introduce Dumso levy. Dumso levy no is bringing more revenue than the e-levy now almost say they are looking at over 4 billion, whereas the e-levy was giving us less than 2 billion. So you repeal the law but introduce another tax that is burdening Ghanaians more. That is hypocrisy, that is double standard, that is matrical government. That's matrical government. Who was the e-levy na ye? Until Ghana for me person mutual e-levy bill, we moma no tax. But who got top petrol there? 1 liter beer to 1 Ghana cedi. But how much say? Who say e-levy momo no tax be a ban and yet into mu ye free and they are MPP. Now who are buying a buy no dear? What did Dumso levy abase? Who got top petrol? Abobo ya Prajia Okada Trotro obi bia obeto petrol bia no wutua 1 liter bia no wutua 1 cedi. Definitely 419 aban what tricky Ghana for which one contompo because eno no e cost more change say e-levy no inti no kra bia nim monsampa.
All right, thank you. So our ranking on food and agriculture will respond to the BBC affiliate station question.
Thank you very much. We will be doing a separate press conference on cocoa, either sometime this week or early this week. So I'm extending invitation to all of you to attend that press conference. But to answer your question, we are worried about the happenings in Cocoa Board. We are very worried. You remember in the run-up to the 2024 December elections, leading members told cocoa farmers that if they voted for them, if they gave them power,
will increase cocoa from 3,100 to 6,000 Ghana cedis. In fact, the Honorable Finance Minister even went further to promise them 7,000 megajoule. Honorable Eric Opoku, Zambakaya, offer Kuafunyina de Omuko, that yes, Waba. Kuafunyina, so Mutua Banamana, Ombema for 6,000 cedis per bag. And I Kuafu no Busan said, Nia Woking, Wujidi, Osisi Abanasi and Tumia, Nakoko, no, na your mind there. It is a Mutumaya, the back 6,000. What are we seeing today? What are we seeing today? And then a bag of cocoa, 3,625. I'm promise bonus sinyana. Wa obenya adaje na ka mede omo manifesto no biba. Promises akesia omo yeye. Every cocoa region, you basic processing factory. Every cocoa region, on basic cocoa college. Yes, that's what Omo manifesto. Omo we have 4 huge promises, and then we afford the amendment and fee. As for 3,625 from November, for the first time, I could afford to be any brunya. For the first time, I could afford any brunya. Now, no can be frame. I've been name is also, I talk go 100 bucks. The yare, ya prescription man. On talk. And just on this go, what talk go 100 bucks. What's the mean to ya? A carefully be over or be our say, because we get 3,625. But mom is saying, huge discount. None of the other money be a no at home. And this our promise in the milk we are for. Omoni akuafo nini ye kura. Na se say de, nya ye tetie de, ebi kura sida. Nya ye tetie no, ebi sida. Say ye percent price na kura na ye de ma won, aye 3,625 no. Yes aba beti so. Na no de, na de kan. So mo tiso dia, e de ko mbeku ye nyina. And then a creafor be almost at the force, yeah, so on, and so on, Toma, Galamsifo. If somebody I'm on here, I have someone I will walk the Afghanistan. I will walk and the Afghanistan. Secretly, what brain home, Mamma Yako, some moons and a creafor every Obetiko. Obeboaboano, obebo, obeburu. Asa na dia begua paso wanum, ebinom soa kwantenten asa na mo dia akọ ba bi etokoko. And the cocoa board, almost the LBCs make over 10 billion. LBCs no mo de cocoa but take over centers na. Omutia. Nana do dan ko akufuado o de mayor press conference mi twoso e ya
Thank you.
Okay, leader would have the last point.
Yeah, our media colleagues, in this era of information fluidity, misinformation, and disinformation, it's important that when we speak to you and there's some ambiguity, we clarify ahead of time. When the minority says that it will resist every attempt by the majority to rush bills and government policies through parliament, what it means is that the minority will use all legitimate tools available within the standing orders of Parliament and the Constitution and all known laws that govern Parliament. So I don't want us to leave here with anybody thinking that our statement to resist means lawlessness. No. So just that clarification is very important. Thank you very much.
All right. Our friends from the media, let me, on behalf of the mighty minority, thank you for making time to engage or be part of this media engagement, holding power to account, a year of active and responsible minority. And just a few announcements. From here, we'll move to the MP's cafeteria. There is what's the time now? 12:25. There is a branch there. Or lunch. It's lunch or brunch, whichever it is. Then we can be able to eat together or dine together and interact. If there are further clarifications, you can see my colleagues, MPs from the mighty minority. One good thing about the minority is that anybody, you can ask them any question and they'll be able to respond because they are very, very well composed and ready at all times. So we will be taking a group photograph, the minority. We'll be taking a group photograph here. And after that, we'll go to the MP's cafeteria and have our lunch. So let me thank you so much. And then let's build a better relationship. The media, your friends in this democracy is the minority. Because we do almost the same thing together. We are your friends.
Please, you have to resume your seat. Don't move yet. We need to have a word of prayer before we leave. Please, we take the photo, have a word of prayer before we depart. Thank you. Thank you very much, especially for those who carry life. We are extremely grateful. God bless all of you.
Deputy General Secretary. Deputy General Secretary. I'm here.
Charlie. On side.
We shall wait to see that now. The elephant is when they sing. We shall wait to see that now. to save Ghana.